Welcome to Worth Your Time with your hosts from the nationally syndicated Bob and Tom Show, Kristi Lee, and the president and CEO of the Indianapolis Zoo, Dr. Rob Shumaker. Our mission to inform, entertain, and educate with guests from all aspects of life. We guarantee there isn't another podcast that features two hosts with such different backgrounds and discussions with remarkable people doing exceptional things. So let's get started. Here are your hosts, Kristi Lee and Dr. Rob Shumaker.
We're back with part two with our conversation with Joe Hale, who is the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, Dr. Rob Shumaker, Kristi Lee here. And what a fascinating conversation we've had so far. If you missed part one, you need to go back and listen.
Yeah, you'll get lost if you don't listen to part one first.
Well, not really. But
well, we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Because part two, we're going to ask Joe to walk us through the brand new Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum that just opened in April. And if you're coming to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the month of May, you definitely want to check it out. We'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. But from the minute you walk in, and I also want to bring up a point that a lot of people don't know. You were not, and I'm not going to say allowed, but you were not able to go up or to go out. You had to use the building you had, the confines of where you physically or located in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway track. So you had to use every bit of space. Can you explain how you did that? Because you took basically a parking lot and turned it into 3 stories of amazing exhibits.
Yeah, Roger Penske's challenged me. He said, Joe, I want you to double the size of the museum, but you can't go out and you can't go up.
Yeah.
So I thought, there's a challenge there. Okay, we'll take that.
It's a pretty
challenge.
Traditional building.
Yeah,
it was.
Yes,
big
very
rectangle.
brutalist.
Yeah,
very brutalist from an architect.
I like that
which
word.
kind of reflects the sport.
Sure,
which I like. But no, I thought, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, obviously, the obvious location was the basement because for some strange reason, people weren't allowed in the basement, even though some of the coolest cars were in the basement. Mm-hmm. So we said, let's make the basement part of the general admission ticket. So that helped double the size. And then we used the folks from Shield Sexton, and they came out one day, Mike Diltz from Shield Sexton, I think he even had a broom. And, we had 2x4 lay-in ceilings in our museum with 2x4 fluorescent light fixtures, exactly what a museum wants today. But he poked a broom up there. He says, you got a lot of space up there, above there. And I said, well, how much space do we have? He said, let me check on that. So it turned out that there was enough space to add a 7,000 square foot mezzanine. So now when you come in, you go down Gasoline Alley and you see the 7 garages representing 7 different eras of the 500. You see the evolution of design, the evolution of technology. I mean, the first garage, there's no electrical outlets. The next one, there's an old radio.
And you did a magnificent job of finding exactly the right accoutrement, if you will, for that era.
Right.
It was.
I have to tell you that's where I spent a huge amount of time in there.
Yeah.
Can you list off some of the? Do you know the years? Or is it just an era?
The first one's from 1911 to 1921, and then you go 1922, I think up to the 40s, actually. But I love that, even the technology, there's nothing in the first one. There's no electrical outlets. Then you got this old-fashioned radio. Then you got a black and white black and white television. And then you got a color. Then you got a computer.
The TVs were fantastic.
Yeah.
And I heard so many people comment on that. They said, did you see those TVs? I remember that TV. I remember like the second to last TV. Like, oh yeah, I remember that when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it was absolutely
even the appliances
done brilliantly.
Refrigerators.
How did you find all this stuff?
We had 192 designers working on this museum from 17 different countries. I mean, we scoured the world to get those artifacts to make sure they were of the era and exactly of the era. And it's been fun. I mean, just getting to know some of the people in racing. Janet Guthrie's become a friend. And she lives out in Aspen, and I see her every year when I'm out there skiing. And in fact, we're bringing her back to the track. First time she's been there in a couple of decades. I think June 10th, we're having a speaker series with Janet Guthrie.
Oh, nice.
And then we want to do a luncheon for young girls in racing to encourage more young women to get involved in racing too. So anyway, she's coming in. But when she got when she was racing, like 1978, the helmet would mess up her hair. So she'd immediately put on this bucket hat. So I called her. I said, Janet, you got any more of those bucket hats that you used to wear? And she said, let me check in the basement. So she did. And Federal expressed it to us, and it's in the museum. So there were a lot of fun kind kind of fun things like that going on. But you walk down Gasoline Alley and then you turn the corner and there's these two yellow shirts standing there saying, don't go in here until I tell you can. I'll let you know when it's time.
Typical yellow shirt activity.
Yeah, the way the yellow shirts are.
Or safety patrol.
And then you go into this kind of incredible LED screen that's 20 feet wide and it's 80 feet long and it's in front of you and it's above you. And it's what it's like to be on the track the morning of the race. It's about a 6-minute film from the moment the cannon goes off at 6 a.m. until its drivers start your engines. And then you have the front row of the most recent 500 right in front of you. Now, they're show cars, but they're wrapped in the livery of the front row. And so you can get close to them and touch them and everything, which is kind of fun. But we've had more people talk about that 6-minute film because it really evokes, cheers and tears and goosebumps and all of those emotions that, you got the jets flying over you. You've got Back Home Again in Indiana being sung. Those cars all of a sudden start up and you feel the engines rumble in that room. It's incredible.
I highly recommend you watch it twice. You got to watch it from the front and then you got to watch it from the back.
Yeah.
Because it's totally a different feel, especially when the flyover comes. Oh,
that experience at the beginning of the race is one of the most emotional, incredible. It is the greatest spectacle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely incredible, and you recreate it brilliantly there.
Yeah.
It's such a phenomenal use of technology in a museum, and so justified. It's not technology just for the sake of technology.
No.
It literally transports you there. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So then you come out of that, and then there's a grand staircase that takes you up to the new mezzanine. You'll learn about other races, the safety innovations. People don't understand that. What we take for granted every time we get in a car, seat belts, rearview mirrors, they were invented at the track, but because of the track, because of the 500. So there's a lot on the other races, safety innovations. You have the suit, helmet, ring of the most recent winner of the 500. Then you can go into the qualifying zone, very experiential, got a dissected car showing the 3,400 pieces that go into an Indy car. You can sit at a simulator and do 4 laps and see if you can qualify for the 500. And then if you can, then your name goes up on the leaderboard until somebody goes faster than you are, bumps you off. You can see how fast you can, to change a tire, gas up a car. There's a little play area for little kids. Then you go in, being a former teacher myself, you go into our innovation workshop. And I love this. It's coding. It's robotics. It's what the careers are in racing now. I mean, you talk to somebody like Chip Ganassi, he'll say, I've got, 120 people in my race shop. I'm paying really good salaries and I need more people. I can't find the employees that I need. And if a kid will take the right math and science classes in high school, they can qualify for some of these internships, these apprenticeships that the race shops have. And, there's McLaren,
Sure.
Rahal, Andretti. A lot of them are right here in Indiana, and I think they're wonderful careers. So that's the focus of our educational program. We're doing summer camps now, a lot of field trips, but even for the casual visitor, there's, 3D printing and all this other cool stuff that you can do. Penske has a wonderful gallery in there. It's phenomenal.
Really
It's
cool.
phenomenal. And then you go downstairs, and
some of those Penske cars have not been on display.
No, you're right.
I mean, that was a real treat for me, for somebody that's gone to the museum quite a bit. I was married at the museum.
I know.
For those of you who don't know. So that's how much it means to my husband. So I've been there a lot.
Did you spend your honeymoon at the museum?
No, we didn't.
Oh,
That's
okay.
because you were closing. You were closing for renovations like 2 days later or something.
We could have worked something out.
We probably would have. We did the last basement tour, and then I'm not making that up. But no, that Penske area was just spectacular.
Yeah, it is.
It was really, really well done.
But then you go downstairs, and that's part of your general admission ticket. No more upcharge going down there. And, it used to be, well, you know this, Kristi, you come to the museum at the race, and there would be an exhibition on A.J. Foyt or Mario Andretti or the Unser brothers.
Or their second row team.
And it
or
would
the
stay
second
up
row
for a whole year.
Yeah, right.
So what's your incentive to come back?
Right.
So now every 3 months, there's a new exhibition opening at the track. And right now it's on the four-time winners. And we're doing one on broadcasting the 500, which I think is going to to be cool. We're going to do one on fashion, at the 500.
That's great.
I mean, it used to be like the Derby, and now it's, like tube tops and a thong. How do we go from the Derby to that?
Well, it's called EDM.
But anyway, doing some fun things,
Yeah.
trying to broaden our base of support.
And it's not just IndyCar. You do have like Tony Stewart's cars downstairs, and there are some other cars
Jeff Gordon's
Jeff
winning.
Gordon's.
Yeah.
The Brickyard is represented. And then the other interesting part, which I don't think a lot of people ever took advantage of, was the event space.
Yeah.
So you will be able to raise money that way.
Yeah. And when we do phase 2 and have this new restoration shop, hopefully it'll be literally across the street, there's going to be a very cool event space in that overlooking, 150 cars that are stored over there in a very cool way stored. So that's going to be another revenue source for us too.
And that's a very interesting point because a lot of these cars obviously are very old and they're not things you can find parts for. I mean, they have to be, somebody has to take these and baby them because a lot of them are driven the day of the race.
We have 7 guys that's the focus of their lives to keep those cars running.
That's
and
incredible.
Right, we do run them on the race morning too. I mean, not all of them, but 10 or 12.
But some of them,
sure.
which is really a feat in and of itself.
Yeah.
Do you have any interesting behind the scenes stories from
I haven't been there long enough.
Well, I mean, during the renovations or...
This is so boring, but it really went according to plan and under budget and on schedule. I mean, it really did.
Well, that's great.
It's kind of unheard of being under budget, but we were. I mean, we really kept close tabs on everything that we did, and it's turned out okay.
So, Joe, there's got to be a piece of this museum that has your fingerprints all over it. That was just your special piece you really wanted. There has to be.
People have described it as, we've done a good job in storytelling, but people have described it as dramatic and elegant too. Yeah. And that there is some of that. I mean, I just love it's like peeling an onion. I mean, you go deeper and you go deeper and you can go as deep as you want to because, you come out of that starting line experience, that film, and yes, there's a grand staircase taking you up, but in front of you is the Mormon Wasp and we have the largest collection of Indy winning cars in the world. And so you've got those, but they're displayed in such a different way. I didn't want an indoor parking lot. There are around the wall, it's like they're jewel boxes. And they're each displayed and they're lit beautifully. And then we couldn't put them all up there. So there's a continuation of that, but they're banked at 9 degrees going around a turn in the basement. And then you go to the basement. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say the lower level now. And, you go out on the track tour from there because it used to be you'd walk in the front door, you buy a ticket to go out and kiss the brick tour and go around the track. Most people didn't go to the museum. Wow. So I thought, my foot, if there's any fingerprint, it's having people go through the museum now. So they have a foundation of knowledge about the place and the race. Then they go out on the track and take their tour and kiss the bricks and do all that other stuff.
So there were no scary moments like moving cars around?
No, we've been good. Yeah, I wish
those
I had
elevators
some dramatic
are awesome.
story.
They've got big car elevators.
That's right. The elevators can fit a car, right?
Yeah. How often will you change those?
A lot.
Really?
A lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they travel to places like Pebble Beach and Amelia Island, these concours to the Goodwood Festival in England.
Oh, have you been there?
Oh yeah, incredible.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We have this group called the Chairman's Council. I probably stole it from Rob. He doesn't know it, but it's a group that we take on a trip every year. They're very generous. They give us money and we have a wonderful dinner this year. It's on May 19th. Roger's speaking this year and talking about legacy and what he wants his legacy to be. But you have to be a member of the Chairman's Council, go to that. And then you can also then go on this trip. And so last year we did the Goodwood Festival. This year we're taking everybody to the south of France and everyone gets a vintage car and we're driving the Le Mans course and then staying in different places in Cannes and, Aix-en-Provence and places like that. So it's going to be a good trip.
I need another job.
Get that husband of yours to go with us. Huh?
Yeah, I'd
Poor
love
Joe,
that.
man. Poor Joe.
I know, right?
Hauling him around all this.
Oh, don't you? Come on. Come on, Rob.
Yeah, that's really sad. I feel really bad for you.
But
that would be really cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Look, I had a phenomenal time in the museum. I didn't mention this to Kristi. The thing that captivated me, I know it sounds maybe a little silly, but it was the Borg-Warner Trophy.
Oh, no.
Holy
it's
moly.
really impressive, isn't it?
And you can get really close to it, not touching it. But can you talk about it? I mean,
and people forget.
I had never really seen it that close and in such a personal way. It's incredible.
Well, and people forget that there are those bas relief.
That's what was incredible.
Of the faces of every driver.
There's a sculpture of each driver's face on the trophy. It's incredible.
Same guy's been doing it for decades down in North Carolina, and as soon as they
Wait a
win,
minute, it's the same guy?
Well, not since the beginning.
Not since 1911.
Well,
That
that's
would
what
be
I meant.
But he's been doing it for decades now.
Yeah.
And, the day after the race, he's there taking three-dimensional photographs, and then the driver has to go to his studio, for a second sitting and everything. But it's really an interesting process.
That
to
is
go through.
interesting.
And then, you've got the wreath of the orchids. There's
Yes.
33 orchids. There's all these little Easter eggs hidden around the museum that people probably wouldn't know. When you come in, there's a rotunda, and there's these strips of light that are moving. There's 33 strips of light that kind of take you into the new Welcome Center, which we've never had before. And there you can buy, your ticket to the museum. And we are doing timed entry in May, so we're not slammed during any one time. So anyone that does want to buy a ticket, it makes sense to do it online in advance. So you're comfortable and you're not too crowded doing this.
And where would they find those tickets?
msmuseum.org.
Thank you.
It's all there.
It's a great website.
Absolutely.
Easy to
absolutely.
use.
Yeah. So that Welcome Center is nice. There's a digital map. Used to be you had to put a pin in a map of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was really easy to tell, who's coming to visit us. I said, unless we're doing a DNA test on each one of those pins, how you know if it's a man or it's a woman? We didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So now you can tell us where you're from in the world and get a little more information.
People at the track and people in Speedway in general, they like tradition, so I can see that. And I say that for this reason. A lot of the old timers were there the day I was there for one of the first visits.
Mm-hmm.
And to impress them, it took something, and you did that. You delivered. And that you should be very, very proud of.
Thank you.
Growing up here and knowing and living through that, it was so cool to see these people loving what they were seeing, because they are so, resistant to change. A lot of people are. But it was really heartwarming to see that.
One of the best parts of my job, and I did this when I've been other places too, every month I call the people the previous month who have joined the museum or made a donation. So it's about 200 calls, and I just take a couple of afternoons, shut the door, and do that. If people have complaints, if you listen to them, they'll usually tell you how to fix those problems too, if you just keep listening. But it's also just great to hear the feedback that you get from people, because you're right. I mean, it's such an important place. And, everybody's got a story.
Sure.
My grandfather took me there in 1954 the first time, and I haven't missed a race since. Everybody's got a story. And it's so heartwarming and reassuring in terms of what we're doing at the museum to listen to those stories.
Do you have a fan favorite? Have you spoken to someone from the current museum that has had a comment that really stuck with you?
I mean, one guy from Des Moines, Iowa, speaking of getting married there, he said, this is the most important place to me. My dad brought me. I'd bring my two sons each year, and I've got this wonderful woman, and can I ask her to marry me at the museum? And I said, sure, we'll set you up. I mean, IMS doesn't like to stop things and, have things on the track.
Sure.
But I said, sure, we'll be able to help you out with that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to know that my wonderful geeky husband has the exact coordinates where we stood when we got married, because now it's different. Now there's a pole there, but we got our picture taken in front of it.
Well, we should name that pole after you.
There you go.
Right,
Come on.
right?
We should.
But when we were there the other day, we had our picture taken there. It was really cute.
Well
It was like,
That's
okay,
good.
this is where we got married. I go,
That's
yeah,
great.
that's
great.
That's it. So to people that are coming to the museum, they just need to go online. It's not really recommended to do a walk-up, or
You can,
Okay.
except the month of May is going to be crazy.
Right.
It really is. We're open 363 days a year.
That
We're
was my
closed
next-
2 days, Christmas and Thanksgiving. That's it.
Okay, because a
9
lot
to
of people
5.
don't know that.
Yeah,
a lot
9 to 5.
Yeah.
And it's so great. If people have been there before, I just love to watch their faces when they come in now.
How important do you think the museum is to the community?
I think it's important to the community. I think it's important to the state. I think it's important to the country. I really do. I mean, so much of it is about tradition and values and family values and just the stories that people have. But as I said, I don't care where you go in the world. If you do say Indianapolis, they're going to know us because of that race, that iconic race, more so than anything else.
Sure.
So, I'm sorry, Rob.
Sorry, Rob.
Why are you apologizing to me? It's true.
Because you've got such a great zoo. You do.
It's all right. It's all right. And you probably know USA Today says it's one of the 3 best sports-related museums in the country.
I do.
Really?
You probably heard that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's good, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
So as a museum, I go to a lot of museums, and I think it is one of the things most impressive is it is a really modern museum covering history, a lot of history, but it's a very modern museum and a very narrow topic compared to many other museums. And I mean that as a compliment because it is interesting, provocative, enjoyable. I love that you talk about Easter eggs. There's so many Easter eggs everywhere where you go through the museum.
Yeah.
It is really, a very important museum in our community without doubt. And we have some great museums in Indianapolis.
Sure.
World, known around the world. This now ranks up in there. But I think important in the country. There cannot be another museum of this caliber on the topic in the country, is there?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, you've got wonderful car museums, the Peterson, you've got Rev in Naples, Florida, you've got, the Gilmore up, you got the Henry Ford in Detroit, the Gilmore in Michigan too. But they're more broadly based. And what we tried to do, and thank you for saying that, is there's been so much that's happened at that track too. I mean, the first race was a balloon race.
Sure.
And then there were motorcycle races before cars even got on the track. And then the track didn't really work. It was tearing up tires, so they had to brick it, with 3 million Culver bricks. And then they decided to pave it. And I don't know, the history has just been the evolution of the place has been so interesting. So I think that's one of the stories that we've tried to sell.
And you've done it a great job. And you brought this up earlier, but one of the things that stood out for me is the lighting is incredible. It's very well done. And you did say elegant. I would say elegant. And a lot of people are commenting on the banking because I don't think people realize that that's the actual banking of the turns when you see the cars, on the wall like that. Right. It's real impressive.
Have you ever run a race on that track, though, a foot race?
Yes, I ran the Mini.
And you can feel that banking, can't you?
Oh, yeah, you can. Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
this is it's great for any age. If you're somebody who's really into the race, really into cars, you'll have an incredible time. If you want to bring your family, there's something for everybody there.
Yeah, even if you're not a car person. I mean, I obviously am a car person, but like you were saying, upstairs in the mezzanine, there's some great there's paintings by Leroy Neiman. I mean, there's a lot of things to look at.
Oh, it's incredible.
That is not just a car on a wall. Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that.
it is really, really, congratulations. I can't
Well, thank you.
say
Thank you for having me.
so much.
You've done an incredible
hope all your
job.
listeners will come out and let me welcome them to the new museum.
Well, you do a great job, and I'm sure they will. Thank you again. Joe Hale has been our guest, the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. The website, again, for them to get tickets.
imsmuseum.org.
And I really want to emphasize that you are inside the track, but you are open 363 days a year.
And you don't have to pay to come inside the track.
No.
A lot of people think, oh, my goodness,
it's
if
intimidating.
I go in there, yeah. And it's all free.
Yeah.
Until you get to
the museum.
Got to pay for it some way.
Oh, we never even mentioned the little tour bus around the track, too.
Yeah, those tours are great.
They are
you can
great.
Get off and kiss the bricks like the winner, the 500. And even if the track's been used for something else, we've got the podium tour where you go up to the victory podium where the winner stands during the race, and you can see up and down the straightaway. It's really a cool.
That is. I took my foreign exchange students every time they would come. Nice. We would do that, and they just got a hoot. And they're all from France. They loved it. They knew exactly, where we were and what we were doing, and they just loved kissing the bricks. And
good.
Yeah, so don't forget that part of the tour as well. That has not changed. They still do the van tours.
And you can finally get something to eat and drink in the museum, which you could never do before.
And the gift shop's redone,
Nice
and the milk
shop.
bottle chandelier is really cool.
It is.
That is a wonderful idea. Whose idea was that?
I think it was Legends who runs that gift shop.
Well, they did a great job too. So as you can tell, I'm a big fan.
I can tell, Joe, you got to be really proud, though.
Yeah, you do.
You should be justifiably
Got a
proud.
fantastic team and a great board. You know how it all works.
Well, there you go.
Takes
well
a
done.
village.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening to Worth Your Time. Dr. Rob, I'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Kristi. See you soon.
Yep.
You've been listening to Worth Your Time with Dr. Rob Shumaker and Kristi Lee. If you like what you hear, please give a review wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best compliment. Thanks to our producers, Chris Spangle of Leaders and Legends, LLC. You can reach him at leadersandlegends.net. Also, thanks to Sophie Ritz. I'm Christopher Geisen. Thanks for joining us.